Hi, I'm Heath Poland of Urban Security Agents. Um, I wanted to touch base on some basics um, with a firearm um, and a little bit of weapons retention with this particular holster. It's the Black Hawk, as you can see. Um, I hope everybody can hear me okay. Uh, the first thing is train. You're going to hear me talk about that quite a bit. Is train, train, train. Not only train, but make sure you keep weapons retention because I don't believe that a lot of people, whether instructors, whether whatever the case may be, really get into personal weapons retention. Whether you carry concealed or like myself, I always carry open. That's just my personal preference. But I wanted to just kind of touch base on a couple of those today. First thing is I'm making coffee too, so if you hear that, I do apologize. Um, we're gonna make sure the weapon's safe. We'll get into a little bit of training. I know you can't see it. There you go. Now it's kind of on my face, completely empty. Okay, completely safe firearm. Um, so that being said, what I carry is the XD Springfield 40 caliber, the 4.0. Love the XD models. I love the feel. I love how the weight. It fits my hand. It fits my grip. Whether I have to do one-handed or both-handed, it's not too heavy. It's not too awkward. Um, so shout out to XD in Springfield. Thank you. Fucking amazing weapon. Now back to holster stuff. Um, First thing is when you draw, make sure you have a good grip. Okay, so I'm gonna turn sideways a little bit. Make sure that grip is good and solid when you come up. Okay, you don't have to bear down on it and use all your muscles or anything, but you want to have a good grip. Okay, um, as you previous video, it's a level 2 retention. I have to mesh this release for me to draw my weapon. It does not come out, as you can tell. Um, Good holster, but anyway, good grip. So good grip, release, come out. Now I come to the center of my chest. There's a lot of people who do things differently, but this is for me. If I'm out in public, if I'm in a crowded situation, this way I still retain control over my weapon close to me before I go out to a full combat. So let's get over a little bit. Full combat. Okay. So I keep this close to me until I'm ready to come out and really start identifying the target or pointing my weapon in a direction. Okay. Granted, yes, it's still pointed. As you can tell, trigger. Um, my fingers aren't on the trigger. Okay, there's a term for it, but again, I'm not big into the terms. Just a lot of common sense, a lot of training. Um, so don't put your finger on the trigger until you are absolutely ready to take a life. Okay, period. Um, that's my rule. It's how I train. That's what I teach. All that stuff. So, but anyway, so a good grip, close to me. When I identify, then I come out and start identifying what I need to go. If I identify and I see what my target is, then we come down to the trigger. Okay. So um, please keep that in mind. Again, do it again. Standing. You know, if you're like at a convenience store, grocery store, you're probably standing kind of like this, or hanging out. whatever the case may be. A lot of the times when I'm out in public, my hands are down to my side. Um, One for weapons retention. This way, if somebody comes up to grab it, I can, you know, put my arm against it and start really retaining that weapon. You know, I even kind of lean over a little bit. This way, it's harder for them to pull up. It's against my rib cage. Um, but if I'm busy doing something, I always try to keep my firearm side against like a shelving, um, against maybe like the checkout area, for instance, Walmart. So, I mean, you have your little checkout area. So I kind of try to stand closer to that. That way, if somebody does, that gives me an additional help. Um, I can shove them into the shelves. I can, there's a lot of things that can happen, okay? And I can't go through all of those. There's just no way to go through all of them. The basics is do whatever you can, whatever humanly possible, to make sure you retain that firearm and keep it in the holster. If it's in your hand, the same thing. This is the number one reason why I pull it towards me. It's also why I keep a grip on it like this. So my grip, okay, thumbs aligned with the slide. My other hand, I come up, grab it. Thumb goes around that other thumb, overlays it, whatever the case is, and then that finger goes across that trigger guard. Okay, um, it's something a Marine recon buddy taught me. It's come in handy in many situations. So I with this hand, I push gently back towards my primary hand. With my primary hand, I push gently towards the secondary. This way you have a good grip, okay? Also controls recoil. Um, a lot of people disagree with that. It's, you know what, they disagree with it. It helps me. It's comfortable, it's how I train. Um, but that's why I come to my chest either like this or I kind of shield it. You know what I mean? Um, Again, it all depends on the situation. I can't cover everything. Just what I'm comfortable with, what I know. Okay. So that being said, from here out, keep a good firm grip, both hands. Turn towards you. Good firm grip, both hands. And you can see this part of my arm tense up. Okay. See that movement with the arm? It's a little tense. That's me holding this firmly. You know, not a death grip, not anything like that. Just I need it to be a firm grip. Okay. Same. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's the same concept with both. Okay. Excuse me. So back to the holster. Now I mentioned male and female. Now a lot of females don't have a grip strength like males do. Okay. They need a smaller framed firearm, or in my wife's case, this part of her hand is numb. I would say it doesn't have the sensitivity as mine does. Um, for that being, this is one release. I can't fire this weapon without that being depressed. Okay, so that's why. So a good grip. That way it's depressed, and I can make a shot. Okay, back in the holster. Um, Weapons retention. You do whatever you can. You eye gouge, you bite, punch, you kick, you trip, you throw, whatever the case may be for yourself. Again, it all depends on the situation you're um, in order to have weapons retention. Now, when I'm at home, I don't have children here. I put my firearm in a safe place so I can reach it. Okay, whether I'm sitting here watching TV, playing on PlayStation, whether I'm sleeping, um, it's somewhere I can grab it quickly and start my actions to identify a target, to make sure all of those things are going on. Um, I don't know if Many of you have been in a combat situation, but all of those things is why you train. All of those things are going through your head a million miles a second. Your adrenaline's going through the roof. Your thoughts, your everything is elevated. Okay. Um, so another reason why you train is that way when you do end up in that situation, that's all second nature. What they call that is muscle memory. Um, I've trained so much that when I draw, my arms and everything come out to a point where I don't have to, squint to close one eye or squint to catch my sights. It's already there. I don't have that, let's find it attitude, okay? And that's what you don't want. You want to be able to train enough that muscle memory put your weapon out there to do exactly what you need to do immediately, okay? Um, that goes for law enforcement. That goes for private citizens. That goes for security officers that are able to carry a firearm. A lot of companies don't. Um, our company, it's policy. We don't take anything that is unarmed. Um, our policy is also is we have two officers per anything, anything. The second officer is there's your backup, is there's your partner, second set of eyes, second set of ears, all of those things. If you do get in a squabble and you're the only one, 1v1, that officer is there for additional weapons retention. You know, he can jump in and help and make sure that the bad guy is not trying to get to my weapon. Okay, same with me with him or my partner. Okay, so I want y'all to keep all this in mind. All of this plays together in the carrying a firearm. Whether you do it everyday carry, whether you do it Leo, which they carry every day. If you think they're off duty and they got sweatpants on, I promise you they got a firearm within reach. Okay, I promise you. My wife and I train in the same fashion that I'm sitting here telling you. I taught her. She's actually better than I am, which is amazing. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want whoever I'm able to reach is better than me. Okay? Because that means if for whatever reason you and I are in a situation, I know that you have my back and you're not going to shoot me in the fucking back. Okay? Um, so, again, a lot of this plays in, it overlaps, it comes together, it whatever you want to call it. But the basics of it is when you draw, and I've got my hip on, I don't have my thigh on, obviously. When you draw, you want a good firm grip coming down, release, out, and into your stance or whatever it is. Okay, mine normally is something similar to this. I've got a squatted stance. This way, if I get bumped, I'm not going to get moved around too far. If I need to widen my stance, I can. It also allows me the ability to come down. If I'm like in a car, it gets me behind cover and concealment. Now I'm not talking about a telephone pole, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. uh, but you never know. You never know. Normally, if you're out in public, like in a parking lot or whatever, take the engine side of a vehicle, squat down behind it. Bullets have a much tougher time coming through, the car, the engine, and a tire to get to you versus the side of the car, doors, the trunk. There's not a whole bunch there to stop it. Okay. Um, we'll get into covering concealment later. I just want to do the basics today. Okay. The basics is a firm grip. Come down, set, if you will, release, come to a half combat, whether it's this way or this way. Identify your target, and then go out. When you're finished, come back, reset your firearm, leave your hand here, and basically pray you got the guy. If you're trained and you shoot quite often, there's no reason for you to be like, oh my God, did I hit him? You should know. Okay? End of story. You should know. But again, do it again. Firm grip, release, other hand, out. Come back, holster. End of story. If there are multiple targets, you take care of the targets. When you are done, put your firearm back up. period. Put it up. Um, Retentions. Put your hand on top of it. Like if you're gonna grab it, put your hand on top of it so they can't get to it. Okay. Slightly bend over and the hip, bend over. This way it takes your ribs take the brunt of it, holster and everything. Okay. If you don't have that opportunity, put your arm on it. A lot of times I stand around with my arm on it. Okay. Um, Whether it's down by my side, with my arm pressed against it. Okay. Or like this. See a lot of law enforcement officers standing there with their hands in their belt, their arm on top of their weapon. Um, that's one of the reasons. It's not to look cool, and it's not to any of that. It's so they can have that readiness of retention prior to anything going on. Okay, anything. Same way with my my holder, magazine holder. It sits up a little higher. It's which, by the way, this is Alien Gear. Um, Amazing product. It's got good tension on it. That way, it's a little difficult to get out. But that being said, I put retention on it on both sides if I'm standing. And this is the way I want to stand. Whether versus like this by my side walking, or pushing a cart. If I'm pushing a cart, my arms normally on top of it. Um, but this is a comfortable setting for me, whether it's like this, standing and talking to somebody, definitely out in public, um, or like this, my arms down by my side, and you've got a little bit of retention. Put your hand, place it on there, push down. That way they can't pull it out. Cover that section with your fingers. This way they can't mash the button. Okay? Kind of bend over, if you will. See what I'm talking about? There's pushing against my body. This way, if they try to pull it up, it's against my rib cage. Everything's against my rib cage. It's gonna hurt, especially if you have a vest on. It may pinch, but they're not gonna get your weapon. Okay? I'm not talking about grappling. I'm not talking about rolling around on the ground, fucking fighting somebody. Just simple stuff right now. Okay? Simple. We'll get into that stuff later. But these are just simple things that I use every day. Put my arm on it. Okay? If I feel that something's not right, I may kind of lean over just a little bit, put a little more weight on that weapon. Lean over just a little bit. That way that all that's ready to go. If by chance that I need to get to it, the action's already there. Okay. Something else, just because I just thought of it. When you draw and train not to look at your holster. Don't be doing this. Take your eyes off of everything else that's going on. Okay, you need to be able to draw and put back without looking at that. Period. Whether it's side, whether it's hip, whether it's appendix, whatever you carry, you need to be able to make sure you can safely put your weapon back without taking your eyes off everything. Okay? Because if you do, you don't know how many targets are out there. You don't know what else is going to happen. Okay? If you get to the point where you're about right here, you need to come back out again, you need to be able to do that without looking down. Okay? You need to keep your eyes on whatever's going on. So draw, clasp, firm grip, clasp, out, back, in the holster, and you're done. You didn't hear it click, but it does click. Okay? I know it was securely firm, in there without hearing that noise, but if you need to, make sure you can hear it too, okay? But make sure it's in there. When you're done, do what you're supposed to do. Aid Leo, okay? If you can get to the person that is posing a threat, remove whatever weapon away from them. Kick it away. Don't touch it with your hands. Just move it away out of their reach. Whether on the ground, what doesn't matter. Just make sure you can move it out of the way. If it's in a vehicle, you may have to reach in and move it, okay? But when you do, excuse me, I'm having some ear issues. If you have to reach in the vehicle and move it, make sure it's at arm's reach. But when you do, keep in mind, you need to tell law enforcement this. They're going to fingerprint that. And if you don't tell them, they're going to come back and go, hey, I found your fingerprints on this. What the fuck? So you need to be ready to tell them all of these things. You know, how many shots you fired, where you were, how you were standing. If you can remember anybody that's around you, you know, tell them that. But namely, things that you do immediately is what you need to be telling, okay? If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you know, the shut up thing. In my case, I don't have a choice if I'm on duty, okay? I need to tell them what happened, period. So they can start telling detectives, so they can start, you know, putting together the scene as to whether I was right or wrong in a justified shooting, okay? Um, don't lie to them. Make sure they're factual. You know, don't go, oh, it's probably doing this. No, no, I was doing this. Or, you know, I was standing where I was at. Or, you know, I reached in, I had to move the weapon away from him. You know, my fingerprints are going to be on there. But I just moved it away from him for my safety and everybody else's safety. You know, until you guys got here, basically. Um, they're going to ask you for your firearm. Now, another thing about retention is I noticed a lot of guys, you know, they go out and buy a firearm. And they're like, hey, let me see your gun. You know, if you're not at home in an enclosed, safe area, safely handling that firearm, you don't pull the fuck out. Period. Period. I was, my family and I were pulled over, I don't know, a little over a year ago. State troopers, I let him know, hey, I'm armed. You know, I kept my hands away from my firearm while we were discussing what it was. It was a traffic stop. I had my phone in my hands, but it was away from my firearm. You know, sir, I'm armed. We own a private security company, that kind of sort of thing. He's like, well, let me see your firearm. Just lifted my arm. I wouldn't touch it. If you want it, you're going to have to come get it. Okay? In that case, it's acceptable. Any other case, you don't remove this for nothing unless it is to stop a target. Period. To stop a threat. Period. You're not out here showing your buddies, oh man, look what I got, blah, blah. No, hell no. I've gone to 2 gun shows. I still don't take this out of my holster unless it's for them to make it safe. So I take the magazine out, I unload it, I walk in, I hand it to them in an open position. They do what they got to do to make it, you know, safe for me to walk around in the gun show. I reholster it. I do not take it back out of the holster until it's time to remove the cable or zip tie and reload it. And then I put it right back. Period. If somebody I feel is going to reach for it, it's this number. Okay? You see my hand? It's this number. Now that's the first thing that you need to do. Hey, stop. Hey, stop. No, I'm not, you know, whatever, but stop. Okay? Um, I put my hand on it like that versus doing this in that kind of situation because I know from here, the only person that's going to draw that out is me. Whether they're trying to get to it or not, it's only me. Okay? If I have to talk to somebody, my gun side's away. Even if it's at a convenience store or a grocery store or whatever, it's still against that shelf, it's still against that counter, it's still against that whatever, and I have a conversation. I do not try to leave my gun sight exposed to many people. It's really hard to do that in public, okay? There's a lot of people, Walmart, grocery store, convenience store, people walking around. It's really hard to keep it away. That's why weapons retention is the biggest thing that I try to harp on. You've got to keep this in mind. You know, you just can't put it on and forget about it and go about your day. Okay, you've got to keep this in mind that you have it, that it's a danger if somebody else gets a hold of it. Um, I don't pull it out and show any of my officers. Nothing. Um, I've been around law enforcement where we've had engaged in conversation. The most they've asked is, "What do you carry?" XD 40 caliber. Okay. Well, how many rounds? Our magazines are set up for 12. Okay, I don't know if you'll be able to really see that. Oh, yeah, you will. Okay. 12. We carry 10. I carry 10. That's it. 10. It's a simple number for me to remember what's in there. Uh, it's a simple number to deduce, deduct, subtract, whatever you want to call it. If I have to fire my firearm, I know my base number is 10. The one in the pipe, all the time. All the time. When I get done with this, I'm going to reload it, sling one in the pipe, put it back in my holster. It's ready to go. Okay? Nothing fancy, nothing. This is. I see a lot of people trying to be cool and be fancy with this shit. There's nothing cool and nothing fancy about it. You carry a firearm for a reason. It's to protect yourself, your family, and those around you. Period. It's not to look cool. You're not fucking John Wayne. You're not the Expendables. You're not a Navy SEAL. You're not any of those. You're a fucking human being with a deadly weapon for that use only. Only. Nothing more, nothing less. So you've got to remember all of these things. You have to. If not, you shouldn't carry a firearm. Okay? Should not carry a firearm. Another thing, train. Create muscle memory. Create muscle memory with your grip. Create muscle memory with your draw. Create muscle memory with your extensions. Bringing it back. Putting it right back in the holster. Create and make your muscles remember all of those motions and movements. So, because you want to do it slow. Muscle memory does not happen doing it fast and fucking up. Okay, that's what happens. Slow is fast, fast is slow. Believe it or not, that really, really is true. The slower you go, you create those muscle memories. In the situation that presents itself, you'll be quick enough to do so. That's the whole point of it. Okay? That's the whole point of doing so. Now, if you guys want to time that, time it. I don't need a verification. I don't need to know because I do know. I've done this enough to know that I am safely drawing my weapon out, coming back, putting it up. I know that I'm quick enough that if I need it, we're ready to go. Okay? That's the whole point of muscle memory. Um, Something else that I quickly want to touch base on is if you work out, incorporate working out with a dumbbell or just a plate, whatever, but doing the same thing with that weight. Drawing from, hold it down, come up, draw, because you have that extra little pull up, come out with the weight, pretend like you're holding it like a firearm, hold it out. 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, whatever. Bring it back in, reholster it, put it back down. Then do it again. Pull out, come out with that weight, hold it, come back in. Okay? Excuse me. I do workouts, I do home workouts. I do a lot of push ups, I'll do a lot of dumbbells, whether it's arms or whether it's shoulders. But a lot of this, okay, so I work on my forearms, all of it. I work on my biceps, all of it. I work on my shoulders, my neck muscles, all of this. I work out on a constant basis. Because if I am in a situation where I have to be like this for a minute, we don't need to start getting shaky. Okay? Shaky causes you to miss. You don't want that. So use those weights and incorporate them in your training. That way you're not shaky. You can stand here for a few minutes if you need be. Okay? And then come back. That way you're not tired. That way your arms aren't hurting. Um, but it also increases your draw time. Working that stuff out. Okay? Um, so keep those things in mind. I know I covered quite a bit. I think in quite basics of drawing and weapons retention. Um, Again, shout out uniforms, galls, singlet hat, um, the badge, galls. Um, Everything I've gotten here except for this right here is from galls, um, except the belt and this particular holder. Um, Smith & Wesson XD40 4.0. Thank you guys. Like, subscribe, share. Have a good day.